Call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have some public comment at this time? Welcome to our meeting. Thank you. We have another time for that at the end if you have something that you want to comment on. Approval of minutes if available, and there are no minutes available. I just want to put on record this is actually the third time this year that we haven't had minutes. So I'm not sure what's happening, but I use the minutes to form what I'm going to do in the meeting, and it's kind of hard to do that when we don't have the minutes. So just making a statement about that. I hope maybe we can find some way to address this issue. Anybody else? Okay, let's go on to Mooringfield and staff report.
All right, so we started the ball cleaning and inspection of all the systems at the beginning of the month. We made it through about 3/4 of the way through the field. We're starting to notice a bit of wear on some of the shackles and systems and stuff like that, so that's been addressed. We are getting parts and things together to get systems replaced as needed. We have been getting some complaints about the numbering and then the systems themselves, but the numbering issue, it was just from wear and stuff. But we've got new numbers ordered and have been applying them. I think the backfield is pretty much completed with all new numbers. The front field has a lot of boats on it. I'm a little weary of doing work on a ball from another boat, especially with tide and stuff like that. So we're just kind of plugging them as we can. As when the boats leave, we'll put a new number on it and then put the system back in working order. But right now, we're just plugging the numbers and getting new systems on them. We have gone through and inventoried all the buoys and all the signs throughout the field. I am looking to replace all the buoys and signs this year. 2020, just to give it an updated look and just to clean the field up a little bit. I noticed some of the hardware on some of the signage is getting kind of wore, so we're going to go through and just re-secure all the signs and stuff like that. That piling has been replaced that I brought up last time that got hit behind the haze. Number 6 out there in the field. Pretty much this month has just been hands-on maintenance. We are handling complaints as they come as far as the balls and pennant lines and things like that. Each boat's different, so everybody wants a different pennant line, but we're just trying to suggest better ways for everybody to tie up and doing our best we can to keep the diversity of the boats pretty much maintained. But other than that, it's been a pretty good month. We've had one tie-up where one entanglement on the lines we had to go down and untangle, but that was just due to the keel he had. But I think that's about it.
I just want to be clear, when you're talking about the numbering, you're just meaning the physical number
Yeah,
on the
the
ball.
1
That
through
they're
70.
gone, and so people don't know what number ball they're on or whatever.
Or we have an issue with the
Right.
balls rubbing.
Yep.
So over time, it's wearing the numbers off. So
And then-
we're going to start
yeah.
stocking them.
And then when you were talking about replacing the buoys, you're talking about the yellow ones that surround?
Well, all of our
The
buoys.
field?
I'm sorry, I didn't specify on that. Yeah, so all of our special purpose buoys out
Special
there around the
purpose buoys,
field, I would
okay.
like to get those cleaned up as well. They have a lot of wear on them as
Okay.
well, and then it's hard to identify those. And then our seagrass buoys down there by the critical wildlife area.
Okay.
We've inventoried those, and some of those are missing. And it speculates in the grant the permit that we have that we've got to maintain and upkeep those. So we'll be ordering a couple of those and sinking a couple of those as well.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have something. On Monday, I went down to the dinghy dock because I was expecting to see construction, but I didn't. But they had closed it off, and apparently there was a lag in using the other place until Wednesday. But I did get to talk to the people on ball number 12, and they mentioned to me that ball number 10, the big catamaran, was wrapped around its line or something. So maybe next time you're out there, you can take a look at that and see. Have you noticed that one?
All 10 was caught up?
Yeah, that big catamaran, is that ball 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, they said it was wrapped around or something was wrong. They were worried it was going to break loose and hit them.
Yeah.
But
The issue that we're having with all the wrap-ups and stuff, I've addressed this with the engineer as well, is we're getting a problem with the pennant lines twisting up. We do have a swivel shackle up top on there, and I've suggested we put a swivel right to the pennant line itself. For some reason, the way they engineered it, it's not working out for the water flow that we have. So the systems are binding themselves up, and it's causing twisting of the bridle lines and the pennant lines. So we'll go out when they get too bad, and the team and I will physically fix those or help out anybody that's been tied up like that to get the pennant lines unwrapped. But that is being addressed in these new systems that hopefully we're going to be putting in within the next year. So it should eliminate any of that binding that we're getting at this time. But that's the plan so far for that. But as far as that boat right there, what I like to do is just give it time, because usually we would jump on it, and usually within a day or two it'll work itself out just with the tide flow and how the boats work. But if it does get too drastic, we'll go and address it.
that was Monday, so if you see a problem.
Yeah,
it's
we'll
been a
be out
couple
today.
days.
Yeah, I'll jump in and say our pennant line twists. So,
Yeah.
and it's just like almost hard because it's so twisted up.
Yeah,
So-
what we've suggested, and you'll see it on a couple boats like Ball 3, they've gone and put a swivel in between their bridle and the pennant line itself, so it just swivels and it doesn't wrap itself up there. But what I'm trying to do is put one under the water on the bottom of the pennant line there, so that it will stop from twisting up there.
So I have a laundry list of items to go over with you all, if you're ready.
Okay.
We'll start with the piece of paper you received. It's on town letterhead. And that was the notice that went out to all of the users of the dinghy dock. I went down yesterday. They've sunk the piles in between Snug Harbor and Nervous Nellies. They're doing some fine tuning to the floating dock, and it should be open today by 5 p.m. at the latest. If it's opened sooner, we will get that notice out. We were looking at some alternatives. We talked to Matanzas. They were going to provide some canal frontage on Crescent Canal. We had our contractor and engineer there, and we decided that wasn't probably the best option. So we did opt to pay to have the dinghy dock shifted over to Bayside Park, which gives us an idea of if we were to put a marginal and finger pier in, we can see how it would work with the abutting property owners. So that is that letter.
What were they supposed to do Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and today? What were they supposed to do in between when it was closed and when the new one
So
was
in the
open?
letter, it says to either use Bowditch or the floating dinghy dock, the Gulf Beach Road dinghy dock. So I understand it's very temporary. Like I said, as soon as that dock is up and running, everybody will be notified. So expected construction should be complete. We do have 2 holidays in the next month, but by January 10th. So that's what we're shooting for. Hopefully they'll come in and finish sooner, but we'll see. And again, as soon as that is up and running, we will get the new dock open. It should be beautiful. So I remind you that that dock is being paid for utilizing grant funding. That's Florida Boating Improvement Program funding, FBIP. So we have to make sure we're communicating to them and meeting all the standards of the grant. So that's a little due process. Speaking of grant, Austin mentioned that we were having some concerns of some wear and tear on some pennant lines in the field. We are the pending recipient of a federal grant, the BIG grant. I've been in communications with the program administrator there, and anything with the federal government is very slow. And so they've been reviewing the agreement for months. I've pushed and pushed and pushed, and it was our intention to finish this before season started and get the new systems in. That's not the case. They said any work done prior to the execution of the agreement it doesn't count towards the grant. So we can't do anything pretty much. So they have told me hopefully by January that we'll have the agreement in hand. Of course, that has to go to town council for approval. So as soon as it's executed, we can start ordering the new systems and getting the new systems in. So
So this is for the systems, for the
Yes.
grant is for
the
that.
maintenance,
Okay.
yes, yeah. So that's, any questions about that? Of course, we won't do construction during peak season, that's unrealistic, so probably right after Easter is when we'll get the new systems in. So in the email I sent you, we do have to provide an update to council, a written update to council in January, so towards the end of this meeting, we can talk about that.
Yeah, that's on my member items that we'll
Okay.
talk about that.
Within the last month, we have issued 2 refunds to patrons of the field. One was unsatisfied with the services that we provided, the amenities that we were providing. The other simply left early. They came, they paid for like 2 or 3 days, and they wanted a refund of the 1 or 2 days. So unfortunately, how our system works, you can only do all or nothing. So a whole refund or nothing. So it's a timely process. What we do is I have to do a check request. I have to get in writing from Matanzas why they're asking for the refund and the amount with the backup documentation. We do a check request. It goes up to finance. It goes through our accounting system. It gets approved. Then a week or 2, 3 weeks later, a check's cut and mailed to that patron. So, yep.
One was for 2 or 3 days. Well, how much time was the other one for? Short period or long?
I'll have to look and get back to you. I less
Is it anything
short.
like a month? Okay.
Yeah, shorter than a
week or
month,
less.
for
Okay.
sure, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think they paid for a month and they left at a half a month or something like that.
Is there any way to change that it's all or nothing?
They pay daily.
If they do.
If they pay daily, then we could.
But if they pay for a chunk, then it has to be,
So we can't charge them for the time they used and still give them a refund? It's all or nothing?
No, we gave them a partial refund.
Oh,
I'm
partial
just-
re-
I'm just-
okay.
Like, if they paid with a credit card, it's all, like, I can refund it right now and it's all or nothing. But in order to give them a partial refund, it has to go through that lengthy process.
but they still paid for what?
Yes, what they,
Okay,
yes, what they
I
used.
misunderstood when you said all or
yeah.
nothing. I thought we had to give them all
Just
back
the
or
co-
nothing
The
back.
concern from those 2 patrons was the timeliness of their refund, because
I
they were
see.
transient to their next, they were going to their
Yeah,
next
yeah.
location. So
Okay.
I told them, we'd mail the check, it'd get to them, but because they paid with a credit card, that's just how our system works.
Okay,
So-
I understand, okay.
What amenities were the one refund not happy about? Did they specify?
I'd have to look back at the email, and if I'll look in the email and try to get that to you all.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yep. Okay, so I did a couple weeks ago, actually Murph discussed this as well. They were concerned, you guys were updated about the removal of the no wake signs and it replaced with the slow speed. I did receive a concern from a resident at the end of Hibiscus. We did communicate with Lee County and the Sheriff's Office. I just actually got a response back from the Sheriff's Office. They did a sting that, they patrolled that area for 2-3 hours. And the results of that, they didn't, from what I read, there was no speeding, but they did issue a couple warnings for no fire extinguisher on one boat, educated, just like an educational thing. So there was follow-up and due diligence with that from the Sheriff's Office, so we appreciate that. Murph brought up that speeding in the Back Bay and waterways and manatee deaths. And we're seeing a lot of similarities between Murph's discussions and things that maybe this would pertain to you all. So we may want to consider a joint session with them early next year to see what their ideas are and what your ideas are and see if we can put those together. I know there's been mention of the oyster reefs and if there's any potential of doing that anywhere and if that would have any impediment to the mooring field, et cetera. So we may want to schedule a joint session. I asked Austin to get with Matanzas and get all of the current contracts that are executed with patrons of the field. Jason and I went through it. and found some deficiencies of the actual contract. It was missing a date or a name or the ball number, little nuances. And so we're trying to clean that up with Matanzas. I did request a meeting with Matanzas after the first of the year to make sure that we're both holding up our end of the contract, being it was just renewed. With that being said, we have 11 months. We have 11 months to make a decision on bidding it out again. It has to be bid out regardless. Taking it in-house, doing another, I'm just putting that time frame because in the government world, that's the blink of an eye because of the process, and typically they take July off. We have a new council coming in March, so we need to be due diligent in making strides at the future of the field. With that being said, we've sat down, we've come up with some questions that we want to compile a questionnaire that would help guide a future meeting. And we can open this up later or now, whichever you prefer, Kathy. But to kind of guide that discussion, that way we can have a work session and get knee deep in it. So different questions, requirements, things you've liked, as far as to the maybe a variable rate depending on the location of the ball. Everybody wants ball one because it's up close. These are just questions that with this review, if the fee is fair compared to our comparables, how many bathrooms, how many showers, things of that nature, we've kind of jotted down, but we want you guys to start thinking about those types of questions. That way we can help guide a work session. One of an epiphany I'd say I'd had recently, and Roger always laughs at me because I typically have many of these epiphanies, is, yeah, exactly. So Bay Oaks, Town Council, Newton Park, the Mound House, all of these are businesses. All of these places have a strategic plan. The mooring field doesn't. And I feel that especially right now is a perfect time for that. We have the harbor management plan. That took how many years to adopt? But that's looking back, and we need to look forward. And so there is the possibility of bringing someone in. We're working on getting quotes, but I want to hear from you all if that's something you're interested in, because we have 11 months. And I really feel that a strategic plan will help the 7 of you, us, council, figure out the future of this field. So if that's something you're interested in, we'll continue and get the other 3 quotes that we need, and we can get that going immediately. We do have, I found some money in the budget that we can finagle and make work that's under the maritime budget to do a strategic plan. So I feel like I've talked your ears off. I apologize. A lot of stuff's going on.
What's the, when will you first start running the ad for the bid, and when's the deadline for the bid,
So
approximately?
The contract for Matanzas expires on November 30th of 2020. It has to be publicly advertised for a minimum of 30 days. So if you start counting back, I would say the summer is when I would start drafting the bid package. And that's really where you all come in. I know we set some restrictions last time for the bid. Is it has to be on a Cerro Island. It has to be waterfront property. Do we want to limit ourselves to that? Or do we want to buy a trailer and put it somewhere? Do we want to take it in-house completely? These are all the questions that I'm trying to compile a questionnaire and have a work session with you all so we can get us in the right direction. So.
It's normally the deadline for submitting the bids. How far ahead? So that they're all completed and there's a deadline?
I'd have to
What was it last time? Like a couple months?
I was involved in that, and it was like in July that we were doing it.
Yeah, so it typically would go out in July because the council has to approve of the new contract or vendor, adopt whatever they opt for before that November 30th date.
when you're talking about the questionnaire, is that what this questionnaire is? And we would give that to
Myself.
you, and then think about having a workshop.
And these questions were to just stimulate ideas and thoughts. This is a free-flowing document that just as going back through the meetings and figuring questions, ideas, comments, concerns from public comment, from your comments, to add to this. So if you have a question that you think would be good posed to this board that is not necessarily on this, write it down.
I have a question about the questionnaire.
Shoot.
Halfway down to the questions, ability to have upland dinghy storage.
Hold
Is that
on.
on the hard?
Which side?
Number 4. Oh, sorry, there's 2 sides.
Number
4,
four.
ability to have upland dinghy storage. Is that so they can pull out to dry on a dry area?
Basically, what we've done is gone through and looked at other mooring fields and what other mooring fields amenities have. So we just threw that on there to kind of give you an idea of what you think of that. If
Is that like
that's-
the kayak rack and the
Well,
dry
it's not only
storage rack?
kayak rack, but just a spot for them to pull their dinghies up and maybe service their dinghies, paint the bottoms of it, scrape them up, and just keep them maintained for the field, an area like that. And another issue is when they do leave town and leave the ball on, or they leave town for 30 days or more, for a place for them to store their goods, not only their dinghies, but their goods as well. Marathon has something like that. They've got assigned lockers down there, and they have a shop and things like that. So basically, if you look through this list, it just kind of opens up the ideas of what we can provide and how you feel about that. If that's something that the town wants to offer, or like she said, if there's anything else that you guys notice that you would like to offer, put it on a sheet, and that's basically what we're trying to do is just get the ideas flowing and try to feel how each individual on the committee feels about the field and the future moving forward and how far do we want to go with it.
That sounds good, except for one part that you said, the scraping and the painting.
Yeah.
That's going to be a no-no anywhere, anytime, I think, environmentally.
Well, that's the thing. If we don't provide a spot for it, they're going to do it anyway, and they make their own spots. That's basically where I got that from, because we've had problems in the past with people pulling them up on the dinghy dock itself, scraping them, and then just pushing them back in the water, because that's the simplest thing that they can do. But if we can provide a spot for that and have a regulated, controlled area to do that with, it's something that we could provide as well.
That may be a little sticky. We'd definitely have to, if we're going to do that, we definitely have to make sure we do that part right, because that's the
Well,
big
there's
one.
a lot of what ifs and do's and don'ts, but this is just kind of to stimulate the thinking on it and to move forward with everything in general.
I just wanted, just thinking, I think we're, as I'm thinking about everything that Chelsea just brought up here, which was a lot of stuff, I think we're talking about 3 different things here. Getting together with Murph on some items.
Well, that is more environmentally
Right,
sensitive
an
items.
environmental thing. Strategic planning. And then this questionnaire is a whole different thing about future, or is this part of strategic planning?
That is part of strategic planning. And this starting
maybe
this
2.
flow and potentially having a work session maybe next month
Yeah.
would help get ahead of the game if and when you opted to bring in somebody to help with a strategic plan. Because then
So this is not a strategic planner, this is just us kind of
thought generating.
brainstorming.
Yep,
Yep.
exactly.
And then thinking about, beyond that, having a strategic planner to come up with a plan.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Based on
Just-
your input.
Just trying to get my,
Well, ultimately, we just need to set a goal. That needs to happen, and then figure out a way to create a path to get to the goal. So I think that's where the strategic planning is so vital to what we're trying to do here, because right now we're going off, like you said, in 3 different directions, when we need to focus on one goal and then figure out how to get to that goal, using what. So that's basically what we're trying to do with the tools that we have as far as the questionnaire, the strategic planning, and Murph as well, because they are a tool as well we can utilize to achieve things that we'd like to achieve, not only for the field, but environmentally outside of the field.
So I'm going to jump real quick, because in the agreements that every patron has executed, or should have executed at least, there is verbiage that if they are on a monthly rental, that we are to collect a security deposit. And we are working with finance and Matanzas to make sure that we are following those procedures. So I think it's as simple as finance creating a button on Matanzas's keypad, but then from the staff perspective, enforcing that security deposit. So just wanted to bring that to your attention because that may ruffle some feathers out there, but it is what they signed in the executed agreement. It says it plain and simple.
Maybe something like they do at hotel, or I don't know if they do at Matanzas, at hotels anyways, where they just set aside on your credit card and then release it at the end.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it should be
Exactly.
real similar to what they do on that.
Yep. So also, we had 3 boats that were getting behind in payment. We were successful in contacting 2 out of 3 of them. The one gentleman we didn't, the one, did we get the?
Yeah, no, except
Okay.
one vendor.
So
was not
we did,
down.
the one gentleman who had passed away and his boat was inherited by his father and mother. They're working on getting it out of the field, and then the other gentleman was able to call Matanzas and get caught up on payment. So, and then the third one, we've posted and certified mailed the notice to them that they need to remit payment, or we will begin the eviction process.
Is that the $4,000 one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Bill Kubitschek. You know, the more services that we provide and stuff, it's going to have to reflect in the fee that we charge for the balls. Because if we've got more that we're giving, we need to receive more payment for those services.
There's a perfect spot on that questionnaire
Yeah, for that.
for you to throw in your thoughts.
My thoughts.
Well, we need to get on this questionnaire if we're going to, what do people think about having a session in January? And anybody?
You want that to be outside of your normal session?
Outside
or-
of our session or at our normal meeting? Add into our normal meeting? Is that before the meeting or after?
Oh, no, I'll be here.
You'll be here for the meeting.
I got conned into winter games up north. I don't know
Okay.
why, but,
Regular meeting is on the 15th.
yeah.
So we can just expand the meeting and know that we're going to stay a little later.
Bob Beasley for the record. What's the purpose of having a joint meeting with the Marine Resource Task Force people?
Environmental issues.
Murph has been addressing a lot of similar concerns that you have with the, like, I know Austin a couple months ago brought up crab traps. Murph has been, they have a lot of great ideas that they want to see come to fruition, but that their ideas and our operations of the field may clash. And so really it would be an opportune time for you all to get together. And they, like I said, they had concerns of this, the idle speed, slow speed signs. So you all have similar thoughts. And so it can be a quick joint session, but I think to get both committees to one table, because you may be going in one direction and they may be going in the other, and that leaves staff a little conflicted sometimes.
Okay.
Mike Rattler for the record. I'm fine to have the meeting, and I'm glad Bob asked that question, because one of the things which sometimes troubles me is that from a pragmatic point of view, I can see there becoming a kind of perhaps a turf war kind of thing over different committees having different priorities. So I think we're going to have to all work very hard to make sure that we don't undermine our own needs, so to speak.
As far as this questionnaire and the planning, is everybody pretty much in agreement to extend our meeting next time and just do a one session rather than try to find another date that we would meet? Does that seem, do we need to make a motion on that or anything, or?
I'm
just-
going to be out of the country January 14th through the 20th. So, if you guys decide to have it, that's fine, but I won't be here.
Okay, sorry.
Can you fill out your form and maybe put it in with Chelsea before that so we can at least look at it?
I highly suggest you get us the questionnaire, return it to myself or Jason, so that way we can help produce a package.
So then you can have all of our
And-
stuff in it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
before we start. Yeah.
Exactly.
When would you like us to have that into you? Yesterday.
As soon as possible, ASAP.
By the end of the year, if you don't mind. And you can email it, you can drop it off, take a picture of it and text it to me, whatever's easier for you all.
As far as the joint session with Murph, do we want to try to do that sooner than later? Do people want to do that? Any thoughts? I'm open to do it, and to meet with them for,
Prior to the January 15th?
not necessarily, no. We could do it after that. I mean, I just
Why
wondered,
don't we have Murph send the questions they'd like to meet with them, so we can talk that next month, get that out to you, to this group, so we can see really what the true concerns they want. And then we can have a better meeting, maybe right after Cruiser Appreciation Day or something.
so we probably need to do it before, I mean, if we need to do it this calendar year, probably before that. If there are issues that are timely, if we're going to do it.
What I can do is I can meet with Kathy and just put some general comments down about the field, and then Chad can
Meet with Bill, too.
With Bill, and then staff can compile a brief agenda that we can keep a quick work session. No action can be taken out of work session, but consensus can be made.
Well, maybe you can get together with Bill and see what kind of environmental issues before our next meeting.
Yep.
And
know-
then we can kind of
I know
see
one of the
where we
questions
are.
they had was, with the expansion of the field, what impacts does that have? So there a little bit of both sides, but I'd be more than happy to coordinate that.
I'm sorry I won't be able to make that because I do have some concerns. In my opinion, the Marine Task Force is always trying to come up with more red tape and regulation. There's already things out there. We already have state and government regulations. They just need to be enforced. And for them or us to start inventing new regulations and ordinances, I am not for that. I am definitely anti-government when it comes to that sort of thing. So
Against me?
that's that is my full opinion. But
Well, maybe we
I
can
just want to put that out there.
Maybe
'cause
we can
I-
schedule it and coordinate it around your schedule. That way we can.
It doesn't have to be, but I just want
Yeah.
our board to know that that's my concern, that they come up with all kinds of ridiculous stuff that doesn't need to be there, and then they try to impose it on the Anchorage. Thank you.
Mike Rattler, for the record, I am in complete agreement with my colleague, Mr. Beasley.
Thank you.
Well, we'd like, I mean, you kind of mentioned a couple things about the no wake thing, and, we just we need to see where we're coming from. I mean, with both sides, and to see exactly what they're talking about, exactly what we're talking about, because we're kind of, we don't know.
So I will send out an email with some tentative dates. Do you all want to do this in January, or you want to push it to February?
I don't think I want to do it before our meeting, certainly.
Okay.
Maybe sometime towards the end of January, early February for me.
Now, I know that
don't
they
know.
do a night meeting and you all do a morning meeting, so we'll have to compromise and meet somewhere in the middle, hopefully.
Well,
They have backed that up to 3 o'clock
Oh, perfect.
because Chad found it didn't work with his schedule.
Okay. So it potentially could be a 3 p.m. meeting. So I'll send out some tentative dates, and if you could just respond and let me know when you're available. And we'll try to do it, we can get majority of you there.
I think you've already said this, but it would be really nice if we had subjects that might be discussed so that we can study ahead of time, because some of us don't know much about what they're doing.
I'll do that when I send the email regarding the dates. I'll give you just kind of a brief gist on what they're looking at. And then if you have anything, you can provide that to me. I can do the same for them.
Anything else?
If I sit here, I'll come up with more things, I promise.
Well, we've kind of, I was just looking at our agenda items here, expansion of the mooring field. There's really no update on that other, I mean, it's, or is there?
He's applied.
He's
know we've
You've
applied.
applied for the land lease?
Yes,
Okay,
through DEP.
okay.
So as another side note, because we transitioned the old dinghy dock to in between Nervous Nellies and Snug Harbor, we do have to apply for a temporary permit from DEP. And I know Mark was applying for that, but it'll be a month that
For
it'll
the
be.
dinghy dock
Yeah,
update?
yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's pretty much all on the expansion of the field. Because we also were kind of talking about the upland, we're sort of talking about that. And I think in number 8, I just wanted to say that I went to town council meeting a week ago, Monday, forget what the date was, the 16th, no, the 9th. And from our last meeting, just talking about that, that we met with the planners for Bayside Park and talking about finding potential sites for us to perhaps take it in-house, thinking about doing that, not sure whether we would find sites, and just asking town council to have staff look for sites. So I did that, and talked about that we're very happy with Matanzas, but, we need to kind of look for future planning. And Doug Spear and Smith was there. Now, I'm assuming that it was, from what we've been talking about, the contract was renewed. But I was talking about mainly about that we need to expand our shower restroom facilities for what we have now, and even thinking ahead about if we do expand the field, that we need more. And he came and spoke with me, and I hope that he's going to speak with Chelsea, and I don't know that he did, but about exploring possibilities during season, particularly about maybe having some more restroom facilities, like at Harbor House or whatever. And I don't know that he's contacted you about that, but he did hear the concerns about that, and was maybe going to try to come up with some ways that we might have some more facilities, especially during season.
He did mention it to me in passing.
Okay,
That they were going
and that was in passing with me as well.
So
I don't know if anything has been come of that, but he did speak to me about that.
Just to follow up, at the end of the meeting during council member items, I asked the council for their feelings on your request. You stated the motion that had been voted on, and we don't take votes during council member items, but there seemed to be a consensus to instruct staff to continue investigating. So just so you know, it was favorably received in a consensus fashion.
Okay, thank you. And I did also, because I know that people had said, I did say that Bayside Park was our number one choice because of location and all of that, but that I did realize that there are a lot of other people that's their number one choice to do other things too. So
On that, the newspaper reported it and kind of left that part out, but I think Rexanne, I think everybody else was pretty clear about that being the first choice, but to leave everything else on the table also.
So, is there any other information we need for the upland service provider at this point?
I'll meet with them in January and let you know what comes of that meeting.
Anybody on those items? Cruisers Appreciation Day. I did not. I have a worksheet, and I have the poster thing, which I did not update at this time, because since our day is mid-April, I think we have plenty of time to do all of that stuff starting next month. I didn't think anybody would probably be jumping out to get items for our raffle yet.
So it's not the first Sunday or
It
Saturday?
is it's later,
April 18th.
April 18th.
Oh, okay.
So may I throw out an idea?
Yes.
And I know I've thrown out a lot today. The town does have a grill that is a pretty good size, that as an alternative, this is just an idea or a thought, to have staff grill, or maybe Matanzas or one of the cruisers. Go ahead, Greg, you can grill, you can be the griller.
Oh, master.
Perfect, and that as an alternative, so I just, as a
And for
thought.
the record, Dave usually grills, and he's got this big, huge smoker that they keep right next door. So, but we'll keep that in mind in case, for an
It's
alternative.
food for
Well, I
thought.
think you were speaking of maybe doing an alternative date? No.
Either-
At the deal.
Just putting it out there, that, keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay.
And
Where would you have it?
at Bayside Park.
Oh, okay.
I have to take this, I'm sorry.
Well, we've discussed doing an alternative, I think, before. The issue with that would be that then all of the cost is on us.
There's a couple other issues.
Yeah,
One of the other issues is we will be going back to probably permitting process.
well, permitting process
And consuming on premises and all the things that we used to do.
Tables and chairs.
Tables and chairs
tents.
and-
Security,
Yeah.
more work for us.
fire department, police, it would be more work for us,
And,
but we can leave it
that
as
may
an
be
option.
something that happens in our future, that if we
Actually,
choose.
the fire department does do their own grill out once a year, too.
The fire department?
But we could have them help us.
The temporary dock is open,
Hey,
so that's what that call was.
oh, that's an important call. Good, okay.
Sam, for the record, do we have any premiums left, like keychains?
Yes, I'm sure we do, yeah.
Yeah.
There's still a box of all that stuff.
And it might not be too early to look for the banners?
What banner? I was just kidding.
Check the box, Austin, the
Check the
banners,
box
and
and-
see how many keychains we have.
And tickets.
Yeah, and tickets.
We just bought tickets last year, there's plenty
Oh,
of tickets.
we have plenty of tickets then, probably. Okay. All right. And we'll do more. I mean, since we've done it so many years, there's not a lot to do in January. But I will have the check sheet and the letter and the flyer updated.
And we'll probably vote on the menu probably at the February meeting, maybe even the March, but I'll have the information in the February meeting. I think it's too early to ask them about the menu.
So anything more on that? Members' items and reports. As Chelsea stated, we need to make a report to council, and we need to have the report, and I'm happy to write it, by the 31st, and then the meeting is the 6th, from what your email said to me, and I can be at that meeting. So what should I put on the report? Budget, we don't have, budget is a different time. Budget is in the fall. But I will do an update on the dinghy dock, because we're constructing there. And I can talk about the expansion of the applied for the land lease, expansion of the field. Talk about the upland service provider, where we stand on that. Anything else?
Do you want to repeat the matter about us looking for a location?
Yeah. That's kind of the upland service provider question that we're working on. Anything else that I should be, I'll talk about Cruisers Appreciation Day.
Working on a strategic plan, I guess.
Yeah,
They would like to know that we're going to put a business plan together.
okay.
Is that something, so I'm clear, I have clear direction, is that something this committee would like us to get some quotes and try to bring on board.
Do we need to make a motion then?
No, they've raised the taxes, they've done everything else. I don't see that it's necessary to bring in more people and spend more money when we could probably, between us all, do a fairly good job.
I'd sort of have to take the opposite view that without organization and someone who's ready to go through all the steps to end up with a plan, I don't believe we're that organized, nor are we allowed to talk together separately. We need some outside help to put it together. And I've, for a long time, tried to figure out what the business of this committee is, and we don't have any good business statistics because our budget's spread all over everything else. We don't really know where we're going, and I think that having someone help organize that and recommend a way so we can see what's going on, because now we're sort of in the dark poking little holes in things, and we don't know the big picture. So I would strongly think that a professional to help put this together. I've been struggling with it for however long I've been here, and this seems like a wonderful idea to me, and I may be the only one, but
No,
I agree with,
him. Yeah.
I agree with both people that I hate to spend money for that, but I've been involved in enough strategic planning that the people that do it know how to do it.
Well, they'll
And
have a template.
we don't,
and
right.
they'll keep you on track, on target, get the stuff timely to you. Where we all leave, we got other stuff we do.
Yeah. Well, and they've done this before, and they
And
know
it's
how to
not
put that
expensive to
stuff
put
together,
somebody
so.
to just
Just so you're aware, the prices that we've seen come in so far, I just had it right here. 1 second. It's coming in around $6,000.
Oh,
That's good. It's been a lot more.
yeah.
yeah.
I know. Well, I think we need to do it, and we can't do it ourselves, unfortunately.
Advise and
Yeah.
give our guidance and,
But, so I think we need a motion that we go ahead with,
I'll motion it.
okay.
Second Lowell.
Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
You're not happy.
I know, well, all opposed?
Bill Kubicek.
Yeah,
He'll be the one that actually loves it at the end.
maybe.
I hope, Bill.
No, as I said, I've been part of them, and they can be,
So
So.
timeliness of this.
Yeah.
I would like to see the next workshop. We're working on getting quotes. It's hard during the holiday season. A lot of people are off. But for us to get this work session under our belts next month, and hopefully bring somebody on board in the meantime, execute a contract. I've got to get 3 quotes. I've got 1 so far. And I think I'm working on 2 more that should be coming down the pipeline, anticipating this is the way you were going to go. And then get with them and find out their availability, and hopefully between sometime after the work session in January, February sometime, because again, we're at 11 months right now. So hopefully we can get this under our belt, and then by July, we know what path we're taking.
Okay, so to finish up with my report to council, update of dinghy dock, talking about expansion of the mooring field, this looking at land or upland service provider question, Cruises Appreciation Day strategic plan. Anything else that I should be discussing?
One
with
thing
them?
I would mention to you, I find there's a lot of misinformation out there about the Sunshine Law. And I want to let you know, you are allowed to talk to the members of MRF. You just can't
Right.
talk to
Each other, right.
So if you happen to know somebody
Yes.
that's on the Marine Resources Task Force and you'd like to find out what they've been
What about the
talking about.
dual person here?
Well, he's not allowed to talk to himself, because if he does, then we lock him up. But I would encourage you, if you know anybody on MRF, or if you don't, to find out who they are and have a chat with them in advance of your joint meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks for explaining.
Okay. So I will get this report to council by the 31st, or to Michelle. It goes to Michelle? Yeah. Okay. Bill, do you have any members' items? Welcome back, by the way. Glad you're here. Mike?
Just as a request, we've spoken about a lot of things today. Would it be possible, my head is swimming a little bit about the chronology of dates and times and meetings and what have you. So if we could get that sort of coalesced into something that we can, because we've talked about a January 15th, is that correct?
That's our regular meeting.
That's our, but there was another.
We haven't set another one. That's when we're going to
Right.
kind of expand the meeting and
Yeah.
go over this
So
stuff.
I'm just a little concerned that we don't walk out of here today and not understand the chronology of where we're going in terms of meetings and things that we need to have ready.
I will be more than happy to ask my assistant Jason to compile a calendar for you all.
Wonderful. That'd be great.
So what, did we decide the actual date of the CAD? April?
April
18th,
18th.
Saturday.
All right. We will send out a calendar so you can see. We'll put, your typical Tuesday month. We'll put, and we'll go backwards from that November 30th date with regards to bidding, and we'll put the CAD on there. I'll send you a whole calendar. It'll be fun.
Okay. Mike?
I just think that's important because I think, as it's been alluded to here, sometimes this is a little bit like herding cats. So if we could kind of focus ourselves a little bit, I think it's much better. Nope, that'll do it.
Sam?
Thanks to Kathy for going to the town council meeting. I think you expressed exactly what we had in mind for Bayside Park and all that. And Southwinds, were we supposed to be in? We have not been in October, November, or December. When's our ad supposed to start in Southwinds?
I'll look into that. I know one of them just changed ownership, and the gentleman we were going back and forth for a while, but I know I proofed both ads. So I don't know if it's during season, because I know one of them, I think we just do 6 months, and it may be that one, but I'll find.
This is the one that we do seasonally.
So then that one should be either December or January.
It was not in December, so just in case you're keeping track of how many hits we, or how many times we get in. That's it.
Ed?
I'm just delighted that we're going toward a strategic plan.
Good. Greg?
Nothing good, just good to be here.
I'm glad you're back too. Bob?
Nothing. Apologize for being late today. I got held up on my first appointment.
Yeah. Well, we're glad everybody's here. It's the first time we've all been here for a while, so that's good. And Bob, if you have any more thoughts, since you're going to miss our next meeting, get them to Chelsea so we can consider them. And we'll, as she said, if we're going to
Make
get...
sure I get her.
Yeah, and we'll try to get, since you have some concerns, we'll try to get the MRF meeting when you can be there then. Public comment. Dave?
Okay, that's how it works. For the record, I'm David Richardson. I'm here to audition my band for the Cruises Appreciation Day. And since talking about music is like dancing with architecture, I'm going to play you little snippets of the band that will be performing on it. Also, I'd like to say that I think the Harbor people do an absolutely wonderful job. I've been on the mooring ball since the inception of the Harbor. I was also the first Anchorage Advisory Board chairman. Yeah, which is really interesting. Dave's rules of order. What happened to Robert? But anyways, one thing, the date on the Cruises Appreciation Day, half the people have left.
Yes, we know.
So if you update it, that would be really cool. And let's see, I should do this audition thing because this will be a fun way to get out of here by listening to music instead of dancing with architecture. I'm just going to play a couple snippets of the band. This is all recorded in the studio. The band will perform. We can do this live. We don't need an orchestra. However, you're more than welcome to sit down on a trombone. We'll write the charge up for you.
Right.
So, let me see if I can get this right.
How much do you charge?
Huh?
It's a 3-hour event.
It'll be $500 for the 5-piece band, and no doubt that Joe List will show up and sing. So, what do you want to hear first? A nice sea shanty?
You have a minute and a half.
I have a minute and a half. Cool. Does that count? Where am I? Hold it. Oh, there it is. Out of the way. Okay.
This is G-rated, right?
Where'd all these people come from?
You're allowed to say
Oh,
that.
terrific.
Waltz, anyone? Okay, that's that one. For you reggae fans, here's this one. These are all written and performed by myself. They're all copyrighted. But the band also plays other songs too. We're not going to just do my stuff, you know. There's that. And I'll play one more. Okay, that's enough of that stuff. So, I hope I passed the audition.
Thank you, Dave.
Very nice.
Thanks for coming to our meeting,
It
too.
was very, very interesting and strategic.
I like your box there. That's the coolest thing. It is, it's cool. Do we have any more public comment? Yes? No? Okay, thanks. Well, thanks for being here, both of you. Agenda for next meeting. Pretty much the same thing, I guess, adding in whatever this is. What is this? Questionnaire. And we'll try to do a fast thing through the other stuff so we can have a little extra time on this. But I think we just probably need to touch everything else
And the date is January 15th.
for the meeting.
Yes, for the regular meeting,
Okay?
9 a.m.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Sam, I move to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll plan a little extra time next time, I think. Thank you, everybody.